Asia-Pacific tariffs that are set to come into effect. Amid US President Donald Trump's tariff war, Beijing has said both India and China, two largest developing countries, should stand together to overcome the difficulties. The family of an 80-year-old man, Bhim Kohli, have told of their disgust at the children who humiliated and killed him after a 13-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy were convicted of manslaughter in the UK. Iran is ready to engage with the US at talks on Saturday over its nuclear program with a view to seal a deal, is what its foreign minister has said. A tragic roof collapse at a nightclub in the Dominican Republic's capital left at least 66 people dead, including a popular singer and a provincial governor. India and the United Arab Emirates have decided to elevate their comprehensive strategic partnership following a meeting between Prime Minister Modi and the Dubai Crown Prince. Well, our big focus with the United States' 26% reciprocal tariffs on Indian goods set to take full effect today. Exporters of high-value cargo, this includes smartphones, engineering goods and automotive parts, were scrambling to ensure that these goods are shipped out before these new rates are applied. Meanwhile, the United States has said that 104% duties on imports from China will take effect shortly after midnight Eastern Time, even as the administration of Donald Trump moved to quickly start talks with other trading partners targeted by these sweeping tariffs. But Asia-Pacific markets are in the red this morning as investors brace themselves for Donald Trump's country-specific tariffs that are set to come into effect. And amid this tariff war, Beijing has said that both India and China, the two largest developing countries, should stand together to overcome the difficulties. We have a reaction from the US trade representative lined up for you. Listen in to what Jamieson Greer had to say.
For those of you that want to know the tariffs, you've been hearing about tariffs, we're taking in almost $2 billion a day in tariffs. $2 billion a day, and we're doing very well.
Our average tariff on agricultural goods is 5%, but India's average tariff is 39%. You understand the trend here. Our trade deficit, driven by these non-reciprocal conditions, is a manifestation of the loss of the nation's ability to make, to grow, to build.
Well, as we speak, some nations labeled worst offenders are scrambling to make nice with the White House to end this game before it reaches a potentially devastating climax. Meanwhile, China is, in contrast, playing a different game, one of retaliation and resistance. But for further clarity, we have with us former US Assistant Secretary of Commerce, Raymond Vickery. As always, sir, thank you so much for making time for us. With the announcement of these new tariffs on Chinese goods reaching a staggering 104%, how much further do you think the global markets will tumble? We're already seeing the Asia-Pacific markets are in the red. Are we witnessing the beginning of a prolonged economic downturn, or are you optimistic enough to say there's a chance for recovery?
Well, thanks very much for having me. I think that we're in for a very rough ride. There is no sign that President Trump or his administration is backing off from what I consider to be an absurd and really disastrous approach to world trade. You know, after World War II, India, the United States, others entered into a general agreement on tariffs and trade, which was based upon a system in which there was consensus, extension of most favored nation, consideration of the different circumstances of developing nations versus developed nations, and tried to put in place a rules-based system. What's going on now is President Trump's vision of remaking the world economy on a bilateral basis without rules. And until that changes, you're going to see the markets do what they've done for the last 4 trading days, and that is move down. The results are serious, not only internationally, not only in regard to U.S.-India relations, but they're serious here in the United States. President Trump was elected in large part upon an inflation fear. This, of course, fuels inflation. And the very idea that somehow you can create a fortress America economically and be divorced from the rest of the world, particularly friends and allies like India, like Australia and others, is a non-starter. But his view is a mercantilist view that trade surpluses are good, trade deficits are bad. If you have a trade deficit, then something is being done to take advantage of the United States. One hopes that India will step into the breach here and provide leadership as it has in the past with the G20 and others to be able to ameliorate this situation.
Sir, as always, thank you so much for joining us with your view. In fact, many experts believe that we are in for a very rough ride and there's no respite from Trump's tariffs at the moment. Democrats have called this a disastrous approach to world trade. Many are still questioning what this actually means for the future of global trade. This continues to play out, but Donald Trump has claimed that the country is collecting $2 billion per day from tariffs. But government data, I must point out, indicates the actual figure is far lower. But Donald Trump has once again defended his aggressive trade policies, claiming that the United States is now pouring in billions of dollars from newly implemented tariffs on foreign imports. In fact, speaking from the East Room of the White House while signing a series of executive orders promoting the coal industry, Trump took time to address his sweeping tariffs on trading partners, which are set to take effect on over 60 countries from Wednesday. In fact, in remarks that were delivered to a crowd of lawmakers, Trump described the impact of the tariffs as somewhat explosive, but in classic Trump style, he insisted they were vital to his vision for revitalizing the American industry. Listen in.
For those of you that want to know the tariffs, you've been hearing about tariffs, we're taking in almost $2 billion a day in tariffs. $2 billion a day. And we're doing very well. And we're doing very well in making, I call them tailored deals, not off the rack. These are tailored, highly tailored deals. Right now, Japan is flying here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here.
And staying with updates from the United States, Elon Musk lashed out against the top White House trade advisor, Peter Navarro, calling him Peter Retardo and a dumber than a sack of bricks, escalating a feud between two of President Trump's allies over the administration's sweeping tariffs. This clash began when Mr. Navarro, a hardline Trump supporter, was asked about Musk's apparent skepticism of tariffs. Mr. Navarro, who is Mr. Trump's trade and manufacturing senior counselor, suggested Musk's support for free trade is driven by his desire for cheap foreign parts. For Tesla, he said Musk is not a car manufacturer. He's a car assembler in many cases, sourcing parts from other countries, even though Tesla has several US assembly plants. Well, let's turn our attention now to the other big story we're tracking on NDTV. The proposed US bill to end the optional practical training OPT program is causing concern among Indian students studying in the US. Currently, OPT allows international STEM, that's science, tech, engineering, and math students to stay up for up to 3 years after graduation to work in the United States. And with over 3 lakh Indian students studying in the US, many are now in a state of panic as they fear they could be forced to leave immediately after graduation unless they transition to an H-1B visa. What exactly is this bill about? Well, the bill in question is aimed at ending the OPT program, which currently allows international students, particularly those in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, to stay in the US for up to 3 years after graduation to work. To take this forward, we have with us live from Kansas City, legal expert Rekha Sharma Crawford. Thank you so much for making time for us. Just to understand this better, if this bill to end the OPT program passes, What immediate legal consequences could Indian students face upon graduation? And could this lead to mass deportations or leave students in a legal limbo?
I think that is what's happening, right? I mean, you're seeing it in the attack on student visas to begin with. And I think what you're starting to see is this. Now, this is a bill in Congress, so it is not anything that's going to happen quickly.
Right.
But if it does pass both houses of Congress and is signed into law by the president, then I think there's going to be grave concerns about the immediate impact and how quickly that would require people to leave. I think that's going to cause issues with training, with issues with studies.
Right.
So yeah, I think it can potentially wreak a lot of havoc.
In fact, Ms. Crawford, for many Indian students, as we know, OPT is the gateway to building a career in the United States. How do you then foresee this bill affecting their professional futures, especially considering the competitive nature of the H-1B visa lottery?
And I think this is part and parcel of an overarching concern that we have right now, which is that the students are all under attack. We know that there are increased numbers of visas that are being revoked and people being terminated through the SEVIS system, which is the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System, which is the database that tracks international students. So I think the two are tied together,
Right.
and they are an effort to really kind of increase the amount of influence that this administration is trying to have on global economies.
Right, and also given that international students contribute significantly to the economy in the US, how might the elimination of OPT actually affect industries that rely on STEM graduates from countries like India? Could this backfire for the US economy in the long term?
And to be honest, I don't think the administration cares. I mean, we're seeing that wide scale and whole scale across a lot of our areas in the U.S. immigration system right now. I think that there will be an incredible brain drain, if you will, if the system, if the OPT bill actually passes. I think people will look for other places to go and other opportunities that are outside of the United States. And I think that's going to be a huge impact for the industry here as well as abroad.
And in the event that the OPT is eliminated, if it happens, do Indian students have any legal options, or is transitioning to an H-1B visa their only hope? Are there any other avenues they might explore to remain in the US?
I mean, the problem is it's becoming more and more restrictive. And so, those options are starting to get narrower and narrower. And I mean, the H-1B program, of course, with its backlogs, with its caps, is not a great solution for students. Higher education, again, with some of those issues that are going with student visas right now, that may also be closing those opportunities. I think really, honestly, this administration uses some of these tactics to influence or put economic pressure onto a variety of countries to try and see if they can, maximize gain for the administration. And I think that's what's happening here. It'll be interesting to see what the long-term impact is and how long some of this effort actually goes into play.
Well, we'll be keeping a close eye on all the developments. Thank you so much, Rekha Sharma Crawford, for joining us on NDTV.
All right, thank you.
Well, in other news, from the 11th of April, Canadians entering the United States via the land border for more than 30 days will have to register at the border. The Canadian government has also revised its advisory saying electronic devices may be checked, and if people refuse to share passwords, they could be detained at the border. In fact, border movement has caused a lot of anxiety among Canadians because they are used to traveling freely to the US, and many are unaware what documents they should be carrying. But for further clarity, let's go across to Vancouver. Maha Siddiqui has been tracking the finer details for us. She joins us live currently. Maha, take us through the details of the Canadian government's revised advisory.
Well, Parmeshwar, already we were seeing that the number of car trips to US from Canada had gone down because of the threat to sovereignty of Canada, as well as the current trade war that exists between the two countries. The numbers had dipped significantly, 23% drop in the month of March as compared to the previous year, the same month. So the Canadians were already being cautious about going to the US. And now with this added documentation that they have to do to enter the US, especially if they are going to the US for over 30 days, is causing quite a bit of anxiety among the Canadians. First of all, they need to register only for a visit if they are going via the land border. And if they do not register and if they do not carry the electronic receipt that they get of that registration on them when they are demanded to show that, then they could be fined up to $5,000 and or 30 days in detention. So that's something that is causing a lot of concern. People want to know what are the documents that they should be carrying. Meanwhile, a lot of immigration lawyers are raising awareness about this issue. They are saying if people from Canada are going to work, say, in the US, then they should carry a letter of intent with them. They must carry this electronic receipt of the registration. If they are flying, then an I-94 a receipt is already electronically generated, and that they should have it on person as well. The Canadian government is also making them aware that their devices could be checked, they could be checked, their bags could be checked. They are not used to all of this scrutiny. It did exist in principle, but it was never practically applied to the Canadians. So they need to be careful about that. You can refuse to share your password for an electronic device, but in that case, you will not be allowed entry into the US is what they are being told. And many immigration lawyers are raising awareness about what rights they have in case they do not want to share all the details on their electronic devices as well.
Maha, as always, thank you so much for taking us through the latest developments and the new rules. Meanwhile, in the latest news coming in from the United States at the moment, the Trump administration plans to fine migrants under deportation orders up to $1,000, $998 to be precise, a day if they fail to leave the United States, and to seize their property if they do not pay. The Trump administration plans to apply the penalties retroactively for up to 5 years, which could result in fines of more than $1 million. This is what a senior Trump official has said on record. By the way, Iran is ready to engage with the US at talks on Saturday over its nuclear program with a view to seal a deal. This is what its foreign minister has said. But the US President, Donald Trump, must first agree there can be no military action. This is what Iran's minister has asserted, and added that Iran would never accept coercion. He also insisted the negotiations in Oman would be indirect, contradicting Donald Trump's surprise announcement on Monday that they would be direct talks. News and updates continue in a moment, right after this very short commercial break. Don't go anywhere.
How often have you turned away from debates that descend into endless fights? We bring you a show where every question is answered, where every debate finds its resolution, where every story finds its conclusion, where opinions collide but facts prevail, where stories unfold with insights and trust. When the noise ends, the last word begins.
He sold most of his stock, 80%, as on that date.
We have requested the management to come and speak to us. They asked us, what questions will you ask? We've sent it to them. They don't want to answer it, so then let's put it to our viewers as well.
7 key questions, right? How is it that 2,000 crore goes unnoticed by all of these auditors?
SEBI is seeking more information on the trades and the all the transaction which has happened from the exchanges, both NSE and BSE.
The Reserve Bank of India's supervisory officers, they are seeking compliance reports on their foreign currency borrowings by these banks.
The DSS is actively engaging with the Reserve Bank of India to sort of ensure the thorough examination of the matter. And
IndusInd Bank, as part of its internal review, had found that certain aspects of its derivatives portfolio was not meeting the standard that was set by the Reserve Bank of India.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
News is not just headlines, it is what impacts you. And news should never be mistaken for noise. What matters is the reality. Accurate, in-depth, and with the right perspective. For over 20 years, I have been a journalist, and never has clarity mattered more than now. At Newsnight, we go beyond the surface. We dissect the details, challenge the narratives, and bring you the unparalleled clarity you deserve in a world clouded by misinformation. We are bold, we are direct. Newsnight, for the news in your interest.
Let's turn our attention now to the United Kingdom, where the daughter of an 80-year-old man, Bhim Kohli, who died after being punched and kicked by a boy while a second teenager filmed the attack, has branded their behavior utterly disgusting. Bhim Kohli died the day after the intense attack on the 1st of September, in which he was racially abused by a 15-year-old boy who slapped him in the face with a slider shoe while he was on his knees. Meanwhile, a 13-year-old girl encouraged this assault and laughed as she filmed it on her phone. Both were convicted of manslaughter. We have a reaction from Bhim Kohli's family and a report from Amelia Harper of Sky News. Listen in.
Our home feels so empty without him and will never be the same. Every time my mum opens the front door, she thinks about what happened to her husband. Listening to the enormity of what happened, what Dad was subjected to, will never leave us. We feel angry and disgust towards the teenagers who took Dad away from us. They humiliated him. An 80-year-old man assaulted him, filmed it and laughed at him. Dad did not deserve this, and we wouldn't wish this on anyone else.
It absolutely has been, and the news this afternoon that those two teenagers have been found guilty of killing the 80-year-old dog walker who was fatally injured in an attack in a park near Leicester. A 15-year-old boy and 13-year-old girl were today found guilty of the manslaughter of 80-year-old Bhim Kohli. And just to remind you what happened, if you're unfamiliar with the actual incident, Bhim Kohli was attacked while he was walking his dog Rocky in Franklin Park in Braunstone Town on the 1st of September last year, and this was an attack that happened just yards away from his own front door. We can see images of those two defendants there running away from the scene of the crime, and he suffered very serious injuries, including a broken neck and 3 broken ribs, and he died sadly 1 day later in hospital from a spinal cord injury. And the jury during the trial were told that this was an intense attack. He was subjected to racial abuse by the boy before he was pushed to the ground and slapped around the face with a slider shoe, a bit like a flip-flop really. And while this was happening, the girl encouraged the violence, laughed and filmed it on her mobile phone. And reacting to the verdict today outside court, we've had Bim Kohli's daughter, Susan Kohli, say this. Let's have a listen.
We feel angry and disgust towards the teenagers who took Dad away from us. They humiliated him. An 80-year-old man assaulted him, filmed it and laughed at him. Dad did not deserve this, and we wouldn't wish this on anyone else.
Well, the jury reached a unanimous decision after nearly 7 hours of deliberation, and the boy was initially charged with murder and manslaughter but was found not guilty on the murder charge. That 15-year-old boy has been remanded into custody, and the girl has actually been released on bail. But speaking to this, the judge said to her today, I want to make it absolutely crystal clear that the fact that bail is being granted should not be taken as any indication as to the sentence when the time comes. I.e., it is not an indication of a shorter sentence, and the pair will be sentenced next month.
In other news, India and the United Arab Emirates have decided to elevate their comprehensive strategic partnership following a meeting between Prime Minister Modi and the Dubai Crown Prince. For the key takeaways, listen in to my colleague Mohammad Ghazali's report.
Prime Minister Modi last year visited UAE. Then we had the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi who had visited India earlier this year, and then now and now we have the Crown Prince of Dubai here, who has met Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, External Affairs Minister Mr. Dr. Jaishankar, and he also met Prime Minister Modi. Now, the geopolitical situation is such, especially in the backdrop of Trump's reciprocal tariff, as well as the escalation between Iran and the United States, that these issues would have certainly come up for discussion when the Prime Minister met the Crown Prince of Dubai, Sheikh Hamdan. This is also very important and significant visit, considering the fact that UAEs are one of the largest trading partner. We have also got a huge diaspora there, touching to the figure of around 4 million. And UAE also happens to be one of the critical partners when it comes to India, Middle East, European corridor. Connectivity project is now the focus of Indian diplomacy right now, because trade ties and investment forms the basic fulcrum of our relations across the globe, and that is why this visit is very significant. And overnight, over the evening, he will be there in Mumbai. There is a business CEO meeting also happening, because he is accompanied by a large delegation of ministers as well as business leaders from UAE. The focus will be on Make in India campaign of the Prime Minister Modi, or Invest in India campaign.
Switching tracks, an iconic nightclub in Santo Domingo, the capital of the Dominican Republic, collapsed during a live concert. In fact, the roof of the jet-set nightclub suddenly collapsed. Hundreds of people were present, including high-profile politicians and athletes. Officials have reported that at least 79 people have died and over 160 others were injured. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces have captured 2 Chinese nationals who were fighting for the Russian army in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk region. This is what President Volodymyr Zelensky has said. In fact, Ukraine's foreign minister said that Chinese troops fighting on Ukrainian territory puts into question China's declared stance for peace, and added that their envoy in Kyiv was summoned for an explanation. Thank you for watching this edition of The World 24/7. As always, we keep tracking the latest for you. Do stay tuned.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
More news that matters.
Big exclusive